Hey everybody, this is Geneva of Geneva's Closet. I have to be honest, people, I'm tired. I'm tad bit dragging this morning. I just came back from working out. What time is it? Here in my Chicago, Midwest, Illinois time, it is 7:57 a.m. I was trying to wait for my son to leave out. I'm feeling a little sleepy. I don't even think I slept that long this morning. I don't know what time. I think I probably went to sleep around 12:01 and then was back up at 5 something so I can get up early and go work out. So I was supposed to go work out with Maya and then she changed her mind to go eat with her friend, whatever. But yeah, I'm dragging this morning. But I wanted to come on to talk about this because I seen this article the other day and I found it to be a little bit interesting. And the reason why is because I know for sure that I just posted something about some KKK flyers, some Nazi flyers, some white stuff being posted, and I can't even remember what state that was. Like, was that Georgia? I don't know because I just seen something recently that said KKK Flyers or something close to that in North Carolina. And then I seen it again today, something that mentioned some racism in North Carolina. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to go and look that up again today. But this article is from October 28th and is from Fox 5 Atlanta. Right. And then another thing, when I think of Atlanta, because first of all, I've never been to Atlanta. I'm from Chicago, born and raised in the Midwest, never been to Atlanta before. Matter of fact, I don't even think I've been to the South, period, that much. I've been to Mississippi a few times, Arkansas to visit my daughter. And yeah, that's probably about it. So when I think of Atlanta, especially in today's time, I think of it like how most people think of it. Don't they call Atlanta like the black city or something pertaining to black? And, when you see it on TV or whatever, you see a whole bunch of black people. So I don't know if I ever really think about the racism that at the end of the day is the South. And I'm pretty dang gonna choose a whole bunch of racism along with slavery and everything else that went on back in the day. But anyway, this is Fox 5 Atlanta. This was October 28th, so just a few days ago. It's a Tucker, Georgia. Neighbors in a diverse Tucker community said that they felt outrage and fear after racist KKK flyers were found outside their homes. Residents told Fox 5 Friday early evening they found the flyers inside baggies and with candy boxes outside homes in the Lee Haven community off of La Vista Road. Neighbors called 911 and said an officer with DeKalb police came and collected the rest of the flyers. The flyer states the KKK wants you and asks for recruits to fight the spread of Islam. The phone number on the paper reaches a voicemail recording with numerous racial slurs and asks for recruits to the KKK in North Carolina. Remember I said that? Residents of different backgrounds and faiths spoke to Fox 5 off camera for fear of their safety. I don't blame them. No one saw who distributed the papers, and residents asked if this was truly a recruiting attempt, a scare tactic, or a stunt, or a prank. Some residents were concerned the flyers appeared days before Election Day. Disturbing and upsetting, said Amber, the HOA president, who said the quiet community is home to people of many different ethnicities and mirrors the diversity of the Tucker area. She said the HOA is working to find surveillance to provide to police. We'll do our best to find out who they are, she said, and has a message for the culprits. Go away and stop, Herman Jones said. In response to the flyers, Tucker Mayor Frank Allman sent the following statement to Fox 5. Over the course of the weekend, several truly repugnant flyers have been left in different parts of DeKalb County community, including some here in Tucker. We have been working closely with DeKalb County Police and investigators with DeKalb County Homeland Security to find the people responsible for the flyers. The type of message included in these flyers is in direct contrast to the values we hold at the core of our Tucker community. Ours is a city full of loving and kind-hearted people. Obviously, it's not, from all different backgrounds. We say that Tucker is a place where people are welcome to live, work, play, and pray. We mean that. Tucker's residents will not be subjected to this kind of small-minded and hateful messaging. Our city leadership and our partners with the DeKalb County Police will make sure of it. If anyone has information about the people distributing these flyers, I ask you to call DeKalb County Police Department. And that is the end of the flyer. So they said that they don't, that they ain't tolerating that in DeKalb County, in Tucker, in Georgia, period. So when I seen that, just like I did when I did that article about Indiana, don't you remember? For the people who remember, oh, I got this huge thing just sitting right here. Don't you remember when I did that video not long ago talking about the person who had hung and it was actually a Hispanic family who had hung a thing outside on the tree, and they said it was for Halloween, even though Halloween wasn't here yet. It was like September at the time. And right, they said it was some Halloween thing, and this was in Indianapolis. No, matter of fact, I think it was in Lansing, Illinois. So then that just caused me to do some research. I think I always do that. If I find something in the area and I'm like, for real, that be going on there, then I'll do some research on it, and then found out that there was a whole bunch of KKK and the whole thing in Indiana, and I had no idea, especially since the Midwest. I don't even know if I computed racism and the Midwest because I'm always putting it with the South. But yeah, so then I felt the need to do some research on here, but just a little research on YouTube. I seen that they had a KKK rally in 2010 in South Georgia. I see something about protesters shut down KKK rally. This is all supposed to be in Atlanta. Nazis and KKK protests in Atlanta at the Capitol. This was 5 years ago. Yeah, a KKK, anti-KKK riot. This was in 1988. So basically, there's a lot of things, KKK things, obviously, that's going on in Atlanta that I didn't know. KKK sues Georgia to adopt a highway. So the KKK sued Georgia to adopt the highway, and this was 6 years ago. So obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in Atlanta that I didn't know about. So I don't know if you all knew about it too. If you live in Atlanta, maybe you live in Atlanta, you already know. But I went and I did this little research, and this is what I found. This came from atlantastudies.org, and it says white supremacists within the Ku Klux Klan in 1920s Atlanta. And then it goes on to say, it says, the imperial leadership of the Klan in the early 1920s was deeply embedded in everyday life in Atlanta. Who knew? Like, who knew? Clark and Tyler, the Klan's recruitment heads, formed their own realty company to manage all the Klan's properties in the city. Isn't that something? From the Imperial Palace on Peachtree Road to Elizabeth Tyler's 14 acres on Howell Mill Road, to the short-lived Lanier University in Morningside. The physical presence in the heart of Atlanta reflected the Klan's influence in the city. In politics, for example, Fulton County Solicitor General John M. Boykin and Fulton Superior Court Judge Gus H. Howard were both Klansmen. The Klansman chief lawyer Paul S. Etheridge himself sat on the Fulton County Board of Commissioners of Roads and Revenues. Klansman Walter A. Sims was elected mayor of Atlanta in 1922 in a campaign centered around prohibiting interracial worship. And after being tagged as insufficiently supportive of Klan's efforts in 1922. Georgia's governor, Thomas Hartwick, was voted out of office and was replaced with Klan supporter Clifford Walker. It is in cultural pursuits, though, that we see the full extent to which the Ku Klux Klan of the 1920s have been absorbed into the ordinary, everyday white supremacist, whatever, life in Atlanta. Whether a member or not, you can stop at newsstands across the city to pick up a copy of the Klansman newspaper, Searchlight. Did you know that? Financed by Tyler and edited by J.O. Wood, who was also a member of the state legislature. The weekly focus is reporting on the good deeds and charitable works of the Klans, mixed with some local news and comments. More than 60,000 people read the Searchlight each week, and the publication carried advertisements from a wide section of local businesses, including Coca-Cola. Now, isn't that something? So this is a racist Ku Klux Klan newspaper that more than 60,000 people read each week. And we talking about in Atlanta here, people. And they had a lot of people that advertised in the newspaper from local businesses, including Coca-Cola. So that just lets you know the deep-rooted racism in Atlanta. Who knew? If readers turned instead to the sport pages of Atlanta Constitution, where Edward Young Clark's brother worked as managing editor, they could find box scores for the Atlanta Klans baseball team. Did y'all know it was an Atlanta Klans baseball team? In 1924, the Klan played in the amateur Dixie League against teams including their neighbors from the Peachtree Road Presbyterian Church. Yeah, the church too, people. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say, is that the church too. Georgia West Point and the Georgia Railroad and Power Company. That's all together. Okay, let me. In 1924, the Klan played in the amateur Dixie League against teams including their neighbors from the Peachtree Road Presbyterian Church, Georgia West Point, and the Georgia Railroad and Power Company. Okay. And a reflection of the Klans in everyday life, the rivalry between the Klan team and the Georgia Tech Rehabs team for the league, won by the Klan, garnered far more press attention than the Klan's non-league games against more surprising opponents. So I guess they had some other drama and stuff going on. Ultimately, the Klan's Imperial Palace will be sold off to an insurance company, who then sold the property to the Catholic Church. It is now the site of the Cathedral of Christ the King. Okay. Yet the Klan's legacy lingers on in Atlanta. It lingers on in Atlanta, while seemingly in recent months, the subject of rising visibility, white supremacists did not appear from nowhere. The Association of Georgia Klans, headed by Atlanta obstetrician, Samuel Green, was established with another cross burning at Stone Mountain in 1945. As Green's organization faded, it was supplanted by the U.S. Klans in the 1950s, even as the city became an epicenter for the civil rights, movement. A summit just south of Atlanta saw the creation of the United Klans of America. At a 1962 4th of July protest at Stone Mountain, robbed Klansmen mingled with other segregationists, I didn't even know that was a word, and neo-fascists from the area. Over the past decades, the Atlanta metro region has continued to provide a home for branches of the loyal white knights of the Klan, the Aryan nations, and the many others who may pay no formal dues, but nonetheless share white supremacist views. Just as with the men and women of the clans in the 1920s, these men and women today are not strange, otherworldly creatures incapable of ordinary human interest, but rather all too familiar. Examining the Klan's past cultural endeavors reminds us of the insidious and pervasive presence white supremacy, whatever, has held in everyday life. Such examinations are critical. I see, because I learned something new today, because I'm just reading this for the first time with you all. Until we understand the deep-rooted history of the present, we will remain unable to truly reckon with the normal white supremacists of today. I mean, that's interesting, you know. Yeah, I don't even know why is it interesting? I don't know. I decided to say I don't know. It's just crazy. So we got the power company, Coca-Cola, local businesses, the railroad. We got a Presbyterian church. We got a baseball team. We got a newspaper. They were mayors. They were judges, legislators. They was all up in there. See, that's what I be talking about. They're nothing but the descendants of the racist people. I mean, so the people were racist then. Where do we think they went? I mean, they just taught it to their kids, who taught it to their kids, and they taught it to the grandkids and the great grandkids. They ain't nothing but the descendants of. You know what I was watching the other day? The other day I watched Tales from the Hood. Now, Tales from the Hood, if you've seen it, I love Tales from the Hood 1. The very first one that came out, all the stories. I enjoyed every single story. They all had meanings. Loved it. Matter of fact, I think, it was so deep, I could have been having dreams about it or still thinking about it because them stories. Y'all remember like the little doll, the little voodoo doll? Or don't you remember the very first story where the cop knew that the mayor or whoever the black guy was had got killed by the police and he didn't do nothing? And then, y'all remember the story, even the story where the little boy, his mama was getting beaten and he had the paper and he really had control, was able to, all the stories had huge meanings. Well, the other day I was watching TV and I happened to see on demand that Tales from the Hood 2 was out. And I was like, what? Tales from the Hood 2? So I'm gonna check it out. Okay. So I watched it. It was okay. It's not even as good as the first one. But the very last story I found a little bit interesting. And it wasn't even necessarily the whole thing, not the whole story. It was just one part of it that I found interesting. And it was probably the part, I don't know, you have to look for yourself. I hope I'm not ruining anything if you haven't seen it already, but whatever. It has something to do with Emmett Till, and it has something to do with this black man making a decision. Now, this black man was living in the South. He had a high position. He was running for something, running for a mayor or running for something. He had a high position. He lived in the South. He had a huge plantation house, huge, big white plantation house. He had a white wife who was pregnant, the doctor that would come and see his wife, check her out and stuff to come to their home. He was white, but everyone was cool with him. Now, the man who he was working for, which I don't know, maybe he was the one that was trying to be elected mayor. He looked like the Colonel Sanders. You know what I mean? He was given a meeting, or I guess he had won something. I don't know. And he was at the black man's huge plantation looking house, and he was giving a speech to all the white people that stood in front of there. Now, he was throwing jabs at the black man, making comments about how back in the day he wouldn't have been able to have a white wife. And, he was really throwing jabs. Now, the black man, I don't even know if he got it. He just back there, what we would consider a coon. He didn't coon himself out and just sitting back there clapping. I'm pretty sure he felt good about himself, because he had got this high position. He's working under the white people. They are accepting of him. He's living in the house and is living in the South in this huge plantation house. He got his white wife. She's pregnant. Everyone is accepting of it. I bet he was feeling pretty dang good about himself. Well, something was happening in this movie. You have to see it for yourself, especially with this part, that it had to do with him making a decision. and Emmett Till. Like Emmett Till was like, look, I made a decision. I went and I had a chance to say that I did touch the white woman. You know, if I would have did it, they wouldn't have killed me. But because I didn't, you know, I got killed. So I had to make a decision to stand up for, you know, what I believed in. So you got to make a decision. Well, all of a sudden, this black man's life changes just like this. And this is modern day time. This is modern day. Got to be 2018 time. His life changes just like that. All of a sudden, the doctor that had been coming to his house to check on his wife earlier, he called the doctor again to check on his wife. The doctor came in the house, looked at him like he was crazy, went up to check his wife. Then the black man made a comment and said something about, that's my baby or whatever, you know, like, is my baby okay? And the doctor was like, that's your baby? And completely turned on him. And the black man looking like, okay. And then his wife all of a sudden said, oh my God, you raped me. She said he raped her. And you raped me and you got me pregnant. And the doctor was like, oh my God, he raped you. Come with me. And then he looking like, what? I raped you? I mean, she completely turned on him. Then all of a sudden the police come. They start beating them. They pull out the clubs and start beating them. Now, what was huge about is that we're used to seeing this, and you know, like when they show it to us back in the day, we ain't seen times change, the reversal, slavery, all of that coming back to modern day time. That was the scary thing about a modern day time. So my question to you is, people, you know, like, are they rallying their people up? You know, because they haven't left. They're still there. If they were in the South and they loved the South then in the 1920s, 40s, and 60s, so we think they're gone. They're still there. They're still teaching their children and the grandchildren and all of that. The difference is that, I don't know, I guess we got some laws or rules or something that say that they're not allowed to do the things that they used to do back in the day. But it don't take much for all of them to, how do we know that that thing that they had sent to everybody's phone, that alert that they sent to everybody's phone, isn't an alert that one day they all gonna get an alert and say it's on and popping. And then the next thing you know, they come and start knocking on. Can you just imagine? Can you imagine that, people? You sitting in your house with your family, living your life, and then all of a sudden they come and knock on your door. White people, just the police come and knock on your door, and they say that they coming in. Boom, boom, boom. You come to the door. They say we coming in. You like, you know, because it's 2018. You like, no, you got a warrant? You can't come up in here. And they push you out the way. You they take a club and smack the out of you. You know, your woman, your wife, or whoever run downstairs. They backhand them. They say you get out. Can you imagine? Especially for me, because I live in, like, you know, a white neighborhood. I can just imagine my white neighbors peeking out their blinds, moving the curtain slightly to the side, watching. May open up the door a little bit and look. You think they're going to come over to help me? You think they're going to come over to help you? I bet they're going to be irritated at the fact that I live in the house that I live in. They're going to want me to go. They're going to, they might be in that kikiing. And then for the white people who do run out, because there are always those ones that's like, wait a minute, that's wrong. You can't do that. They run out and try to stop. Wait a minute. I bet they'd be like, you nigga lover, take the club or something and knock the out of them too. You know, can you imagine that? And then they snatching your children from you. The same thing they did to us back in the day, they do it now. What will we be able to do? Are they rallying up their people? What are they doing? What are they doing? Is this a joke? Is this a scare tactic? I don't think it's a scare tactic. I think they're getting brave. I think something is brewing. I don't know what is brewing. You know, but I have a lot of questions. I was just talking to Chad about that yesterday. I was like, Chad, how do we know that that thing that they sent to everybody's phone, that that they forced you to press, that I didn't want to press, but I had two phones going off, I had no choice. You know, and we know that they're monitoring us through Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Google, Snapchat. Come on now, Snapchat done literally molded your damn face. They know your face, your eyes, your nose, the distance from everything. Come on, people. Like, we're not stupid. We're putting it on our babies. They know the babies. They know who we are. So how we know that that's not to censor them, to let them know it's on and popping. And all of a sudden, That purge that they tried to make it seem like in the movies, where it's a purge of all nationalities can come out and purge. Like it's not for every nationality. Can you imagine your children being ripped from you today? Today, in today's time, you know, my son, my daughter being snatched from me. They pulling families apart in today's time. What would we do, Black people? They ain't went nowhere. They still here. They are still here. Been trying to say that for the longest, that these are the descendants of. These are the descendants of. Don't you know how when you are driving something nice, Black people, you driving something nice, you're living in something nice, you are, let's say you're traveling and you're traveling to a certain something. Don't you know how sometimes they look at you as if you shouldn't have that? You shouldn't be there, you shouldn't be doing that. Can you imagine what's really going around in their head? It reminds me of that part in Rosewood. Don't you remember that movie Rosewood with Florida from Good Times and all of that? I remember the part in Rosewood where the white people, they were having a conversation how the Black family had a piano, and how they gonna have a piano? We don't even have a piano. It wasn't the fact that the Black people had the best piano in the world. You know, they had a brand new piano. It had nothing to do with that. It was the fact that they had a piano and the white people didn't have a piano. Like, how you niggas gonna have a piano and we don't even have a piano? So can you just imagine how they look when they see you in a nice car? How they got a nice car? Even if they got one, you still shouldn't have one. But if they don't have one, that's all the more reason why you shouldn't have one. If you living in a nice house and they living in some, okay, you should never be living in a nice house. Even if they are living in one, you shouldn't be living in their neighborhood. Who's living in a neighborhood in this type of house, in this type of area? Yeah, so I would gather that a lot of them probably are waiting for a time where they could purge or snap off and be like, yeah, y'all niggas trying to have the same thing that we have. You think you got the same rights? Don't you think they'd be irritated with us when we be like, we know the law. You can't do that. Do you got a warrant? I bet they be like, you ain't nothing but a few decades from you not even being able to speak that. Keep your mouth shut. No, you ain't got no rights. No, you ain't got nothing. So, yeah, taking slavery, taking that time and putting it to modern day time, that'd be something. What would you do if that happened, Black people? What would you do? Would you stand at the door with your gun, ready to blow any white person that comes to your front door? Because you know they coming in through the back and the sides and the windows. Are you ready to die for the cause? Not even for the cause. Die for yourself. Die for your family. Just because you're not gonna allow them to rip your children and your wife and your husband and stuff from you. Like, what will we do? Yep. It's still there. Anyway, people, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to Geneva's Closet if you haven't already done so. There's another video that I said that I was going to do because I see this thing in the news and I'm like, I have to let these people know what's going, because I don't know if you already know. I don't necessarily know these all of these things. You know, that's why I think it's important for me to do news everywhere. Like, I would really love to do news around the world. You know, news everywhere, because sometimes we can become too complacent with just what's going on in our city, our town, our county. We're not even looking at statewide, what's going on in other states around you, let alone what's going on around the world. You only know so much, you know, like we only know so much because we don't go above and beyond. We're trying to really figure out what's going on in the world. But yeah, that's why I think it's important for me to try to report the news in different states and different cities or whatever, and not just where I'm from. But anyway, make sure you follow me on Facebook at Geneva's Closet and tell me what you think about this discussion that we just had about these KKK Flyers and slavery coming to modern day time. Tell me how do you think that you would handle that, people? But anyway, I'll probably be back. Shout out to good morning to all my people. I don't know if I said good morning to y'all. Good morning, people. How are you doing today? Hope you're having hope you have a fabulous Thursday. I'm still trying to pack and get all my stuff together. I'm all over the place because my flight is leaving early tomorrow. So, but I think I have another video coming for you all. You have a fabulous day until I come back, people. Bye.